Hello and welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to be taking out my Panasonic FZ-15. The Panasonic FZ-15 is a camera that came out a bit after the Panasonic FZ-20, which is on this side. As you can see, the Panasonic FZ-20 and the FZ-15 share mostly an identical body design. The only real difference being that the Panasonic FZ-20 has a hot shoe, whereas the FZ-15 does not. That's where the main difference lies with the physical body layout. And now compared to the FZ-1, which I'm moving right now, the FZ-15 is considerably larger. So as one can see, as the years went by, the body design of the FZ series went up significantly. So aside from the body design of the FZ-20 and the FZ-15 being primarily the same, the other main differences between the two cameras were, one, the price point, and number two, the body of the camera was made out of a slightly less high-end polycarbonate plastic. It's what you'd see on what you'd say they're lower-end budget-oriented FZ3 and FZ5 models. In addition to that, the FZ15 has a lower base ISO than the FZ20 has. The FZ20 has a 5 megapixel sensor, whereas the FZ15 only has 40 megapixels, but interestingly enough, with only 4 megapixels, the FZ-15 gives you a lower base sensitivity of 64 as opposed to 80 that the 5 megapixel FZ-20 offered. And now for landscape photography and tripod photography where you want a low sensitivity, that is really, I think, pretty cool. A few moments ago, I mentioned that the FZ-20 and the FZ-15 share a primarily identical physical body layout. However, the FZ-15 does not have provisions for an external flash, whereas the FZ-20 does. Now, as a landscape and natural history photographer, I find this to be a big deal because when you're outside in the elements, if the weather becomes a bit adverse, high winds with sand or dampness or snow or whatever have you, not having provisions for an external flash can be a benefit because there's less areas for the camera to get moisture trickling into the body of the camera. For today's trek out into the outdoors, I am going to be bringing along a couple other things with my FZ-15. Among those items are my adapter tube with my makeshift neutral density filter adapter thingamajiggy that I crafted a few weeks ago that I have shown in my FZ-10 video. Also going to be bringing in, of course, my neutral graduated density filter thingies along with me, with my high-tech paper sleeves to keep them clean. And I am also going to be bringing along my Panasonic neutral density filter that I have also used in previous videos. Today it's a bit cloudy outside, about 25 degrees, 30 degrees. Mostly overcast. I'm hoping maybe to get some neat pictures of the sky with the way the clouds are kind of intermittently coming out. So I didn't end up going out yesterday because I had a hunch that today would be a more rewarding day with the light, and that gamble had paid off because this morning is really gorgeous with the clouds and the sun peeking through with all the different hues and purples and pinks in the sky. That makes for some really great photography. And I think today I'm going to be shooting primarily in monochrome with my filters that I had shown you guys yesterday. And of course, even if it's cold out, it's like 15 degrees out today, it's still important to drink your water before you go out for a hike. Hydration is still important even in the winter. It doesn't matter what temperature it is. So here we go. So right as I entered the preserve, I'm already seeing one of my first shots. It's up in the distance there with that light beam penetrating through the clouds and into the tree line. And then I gotta do next is I gotta quickly switch out my attachments here before the light goes away, because it probably will. I took a shot a moment ago beforehand just in case I missed anything else. That's something good to do. Let's see here. See if I can make this work or not. Of course not. Oh, there that goes. So what I'm going to do instead is just shoot this handheld. It's not the most ideal thing, but it works. Alright, I think I'm doing ISO 64 at 5.6. For my second composition, I'm going to be doing the same area, but I came further into the preserve a little bit to reframe and to get more of the foreground in the image this time around. So I'm going to show you quickly what I did. Basically, I got my neutral density filter here. All I did was just carefully plop that right up front like that, and you can adjust it without having the bracket, but it's not quite as convenient. That's the only difference. So now I'm going to shoot this area right here. So now I'm heading down the preserve trail to the pine plantation that was planted at Pelizzari Natural Area years ago, to see if I can get some great shots from inside there. It's one of my favorite spots to photograph. A couple days ago there was a big thaw in the area where the temperatures reached about 40-45 degrees. And what happens, of course, it starts to rain a little bit, and then the snowy areas and trails become icy when it starts to freeze again, like it has the last couple of days. So I have resorted to using my tripod as a sort of hiking stick to keep myself steady on some of these trail areas that are basically an ice skating rink at this point. For my next composition, as I walk down the hill, I look for the light. Looking for the light in the composition, I think, is just as important as the composition itself. And another factor that's important is how it makes you as a photographer feel, which is probably, in my opinion, one of the most important things. So I'm going to use this area right here in my composition. You might have seen this before. Sometimes people say pretend that your fingers are a frame and use this as your guide to kind of frame your image before you even get the camera pointing towards where you're going. Alright. I think I'm going to shoot this image in a vertical portrait position. Before I capture this image, I'm going to take some time and adjust my exposure parameters. Before I came down the hill, I captured an image of 3 little finches, I think they're finches, hanging out on some shrubs. I have the ISO at 200 right now. My aperture's at 5.6. I'm going to probably put that at about 3.7 because I'm in a slightly darker area. And do that, and I'm going to go to my ISO sensitivity, and I'm going to take that probably to 100 and work from there. I always say this, but I'll say it again. I'm really excited to see how those images turned out once they go onto my computer screen. So now I'm going to head out to my next location further down the trail. It's a few stone throws down. It's an open field area. And I'm going to see if there's some cloud formations with light breaking through that might be a point of interest to photograph. So I took a few moments to look around the area down here for a composition, and I chose this by a photograph before years ago. Where in the foreground we have some vines. In the middle ground you have some of the tree line and some more vegetation. And obviously the sky, we have clouds with some sun hitting everything, so it's going to be well illuminated. And with the graduated neutral density up front, I think this is going to be a great shot. I'm going to shoot at ISO 64. F-stop is probably going to be 5.6 to 7. After capturing the image of the tree line with the clouds, I decided to head back up into the tree line. While up there, I discovered some recent excavations in a white pine tree that I think will be of interest. Tree excavations such as these provide invaluable habitat for birds, mammals, and insects when the tree is both standing and when the tree falls to the forest floor, at which point insects and decomposers such as funguses take over and complete the cycle of the tree. I had forgotten how much I love hiking in February, and especially hiking in Pelizzari Natural Area. It reminded me of what a beautiful transitional time February is in northern Michigan, especially mid to late February as March creeps around the corner. The birds started singing, and I especially loved the woodpeckers and their sounds echoing through the trees. That to me is just a magical experience. And if you haven't already, please take the time and subscribe to my channel. Please give my channel a big thumbs up, and please share these videos and this one, of course, with your friends and family. I want to and I love to see this channel grow. And until next time, get outside and get some fresh air.